update to the Carrie Fisher death, which happened last year in December. We know that, well, yeah, she died, and she was Princess Leia, Star Wars for so many years, such an icon. We didn't know for a long time what had happened until the toxicology report came out earlier this week, and also the cause of death. We know that sleep apnea, according to reports, sleep apnea was her cause of death. But then after the toxicology report came out, we found out the following: alcohol, MDMA, which is ecstasy, cocaine, heroin, all in her system, and that's only naming some of the substances. Wow. All in her system at the time of death. So you have people coming now to this conversation being like, wait a minute, hold up, all of these things, was this intentional? Is this selfish? People saying, yes, it is, but then others coming out and saying, listen, drug addiction, alcoholism, all of those are very real things. These are things that she, even as a 60-year-old woman, wasn't able to control enough to save her own life. And so now what we are reporting today is what her daughter, 24-year-old Billie Lourd, is coming to the table and saying. And so I'll read the quote here. She said, "My mom battled drug addiction and mental illness her entire life. She ultimately died of it. She was purposefully open in all her work about the social stigmas surrounding these diseases. She talked about the shame that torments people and their families confronted by these diseases. I know my mom. She'd want her death to encourage people to be open about their struggles, seek help, fight for government funding for mental health programs. Shame and those social stigmas are the enemies of progress to solutions and ultimately a cure. Love you, Mom B," which is what she called Carrie Fisher. So I just wanted to open up this conversation, you know, and ask people out there, do you know people who have struggled with these addictive issues in their own life? And when you hear this, does that change your perspective of whether you love Carrie Fisher? Because that's the big conversation. If you can't love and respect Carrie Fisher after knowing that these substances were in her body at the time of death, then you don't deserve to be a fan of hers. People are getting very protective over Carrie Fisher. And to me, it's opened this interesting conversation, because you look at that and you go, or at least for me, the experience was, oh my gosh, how devastating. I'm looking at how devastating that. Who wants to be that, you know, in that position where you consume all these things thinking you're just you're just trying to find normalcy in your life, and you still couldn't to the very end, even though it was sleep apnea that ended up killing her. But others would say, no, Megan, you're wrong. Selfish of her? I don't know. What do you ladies think?
I think you know, you think about all the other people who have been in the limelight who have unfortunately lost their lives, so many in the last 5 years. We've got Michael Jackson, we've got Prince, who was
Philip
it?
Seymour
Philip
Hoffman.
Seymour Hoffman. I mean, the list goes on of people who, Robin Williams, but so many people who have overdosed specifically. And I think that it's a lifestyle that once you get involved in the lifestyle and you're deep enough in it, if you do not recognize that you need help, it's impossible to get out for most people, and it ends up taking their life. And that takes the tribe of people around you pushing you as hard as they can to get you to that next step, to either admit that you have something going on, or if you can't admit it, somebody forcing your hand. But I know that if you don't see that you need help and you're not willing to do it, in most cases, no one can help you. And I wish that there was some sort of a way that we could get into these people's heads who are so active in the movie scene and in the vocal scene and as just an artist and a talented celebrity, because
they have a platform.
They do, and so many people follow them, and it's devastating when we hear about all the deaths that have happened as a result of overdosing or misusing drugs or alcohol. But unfortunately, if you're not willing to help yourself, what is the next step for a family member? I mean, how far can you push that person until you say, you know what, they don't want it?
And maybe a point of that is the stigma attached to it, because if you're a celebrity and you have a platform and you want to talk about drug addiction or anything surrounding that, some people automatically take that and they automatically demonize you. They don't look at the other side and say, you know what, this person is really struggling. Because for a long time here in this country, drug abuse was criminalized. It wasn't considered a mental health crisis until recently. So, you know, there's a stigma. So if automatically you say, hey, I'm battling a cocaine addiction, some people are like, oh my God, you're terrible. Like, so then I'm not going to use my platform to say that, because then I'm going to be looked at as a bad person, and now it's going to be overshadowed with actually helping people.
Can I bring up though, like, oh my gosh, who's the artist? Not Demi Moore. The artist that is a singer, Oh my gosh.
What's describe her?
She has a beautiful voice, younger.
Amy Winehouse?
Nope, she's still alive. She had a cocaine addiction. She came out and said it. Now she's been sober for, I think, 4 or 5 years.
Demi Lovato?
Demi Lovato.
Demi Lovato.
Thank you. As a result of her coming out and saying that she had this addiction problem, and now what she has been able to do with her career and become an advocate for people against drug abuse, I have so much respect for her. So people can, in that platform, come out, but I see what you're saying, and maybe internally, if they think they're going to be judged a certain way, they don't do that. They don't take that role.
And then to get to a point, because Carrie had heroin, cocaine,
MDMA,
she had a bunch of things in her system. That doesn't necessarily mean she took them all at the same time with the intent to do harm to herself. It was in her system. Some things linger longer than others, but we need to, if we really want to talk about it, then we need to talk about mental health, because to get to a certain point sometimes, and not in all cases with drug addictions and addicts, to get to that point, you have to be at a low, and you have to feel a certain way, or you have to be searching for a certain thing, or desire some type of fulfillment. So to fill the void. So then the conversation talks about, again, mental health and taking care of that and figuring that out before it gets to a level where you feel like you have to turn to drugs.
Like identifying what that void is.
What that void is, what the problem is, why am I feeling sad, and you don't necessarily need to turn to X, Y, and Z in order to feel that. Fix me on the inside, but then here's the thing, and then avoid this.
Say you get the prescribed drugs to help cure that,
prescription drugs.
To help you, and then you start getting, addicted to the prescribed drugs, and then whose fault is that? Not to try to place blame anywhere, but so now you're addicted again. Another crisis in this country. Yeah. So, what is the root of that issue? What is the root? How do you get through that?
Right. And I want to bring in a couple of your comments. Dottie Kilgore, hi, thank you for joining us, says, love, 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 always without judgment for Robin Williams. I feel his pain and my heart hurt for his pain, and pain for Carrie Fisher, what she must have felt for the loss of her mother, no judgment. So I think that there are people who will come to her defense and say she was going through a lot, and how can we pass judgment on somebody who is going through something tragic?
And this is so far beyond her now, because she is gone, unfortunately. Billie Lourd no longer has her mother or her grandmother, who died the day before, day after.
2 days before, day before.
It was a couple of days before,
Day before. Who no longer has them. So it's going to take the people who have been directly affected by those who have suffered and who have even lost their lives to this terrible epidemic. It's going to take them to continue that conversation. Exactly, I'll loop it back around to what Billie Lourd was saying. I need to continue what my mom would have wanted, which is to shine light on this and to make mental health, mental illness, stop that stigma around it. And how do you encourage people to, hey, you have someone in your life who has gone down this road, have that conversation with them, encourage them to go a different direction.
Someone once told me, you go to the doctor when you break your foot. You go to the doctor when you need to have a baby. You go to the doctor if you have migraines. Go to the doctor if you have a mental health issue. Mental health concerns can be just as physically demanding and draining and emotionally draining as any other issue that you have going on in your body. And there should be no shame in admitting that you are in a place in your life where you do need to seek guidance. Right. So I hope we can change the stigma.
And I want to point out, drug abuse, it's bigger than we're able to grasp, right? Just percentage wise, this is as of 2016, ages 18 to 25, there has been 109% jump in the increase of heroin usage for that
like heroin.
For that age.
When I hear that, I just
demo only. So I think
it's a whole different level.
Drug abuse has always been a problem. Like I said before, it previously criminalized. Now it's being looked at as a health crisis, but it's bigger than a Carrie Fisher. It's bigger than that. Because when we look at Carrie Fisher, she was a celebrity. She was an artist.
Why wouldn't she be happy? She had all the money, and she's Princess Leia.
Exactly. But what about Jeanette, who's at home and is 19 and is feeling away and can get access to heroin and is now falling down the rabbit hole? It's bigger than that. It's affecting people in all walks of life. So I'm happy that Carrie's daughter is taking a stand for it, because that's where it starts. You got to start here, and then it trickles down, and hopefully it touches somebody that needs help. But it's a huge problem.
Yep.
Huge.
Yeah.
That we need to figure something out about.
All right, we'll keep sounding off. Where are you in this conversation? And we will get to this next topic, which